Welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Waters Above. Hope you're all having an incredible week so far. I know the energy has been heavy lately. There's been lots of chaos going on in the world, a lot of distractions bombarding us on a daily basis. So I think it's important for us to focus on being present right now, more than ever. Stay in your lane and take care of what you need to take care of so that you could continue to serve your purpose, instead of being used as an instrument and servant to someone else's purpose. The energy in this realm is changing rapidly as we speak, and only the strong survive. And what weakens us is when we allow the bread and circus to steal our attention. Remember, your attention is a very valuable currency. It's important you invest that attention every single day, instead of spending that attention on liabilities. I want to start out today's video with these words as a reminder. If you're listening to this right now, you're here for a reason. We're in alignment together, and here we're focused on collaboration and have no time for the drama or separation. We'll never let what's going on the world stage divide and conquer what we're building here. What we're doing here at Waters Above is different. This is the frequency that changes worlds, and I appreciate every single one of you for being here. Our mastermind community sets the example of what this internet could be used for. So it's beautiful what we're doing, and I'm so grateful to be a leader speaking to the ears of leadership, which is you. And I wanted to show my gratitude today. I really appreciate your support. It really means the world to me. And we have a lot to get into in today's video, some really important information regarding what to expect next for the crypto market and how we're truly in the final weeks preparing for a moment that only comes around once every 50 years, and I'm really excited to share everything I found with you in today's video. So here we do cryptocurrency technical analysis and combine it with Gematria, Numerology, and Astrology to understand these markets. Feel free to subscribe and turn on the bell notification to stay updated on when new videos come out, and make sure to give this video a like and share this channel with other conscious beings to help grow our community. And with that being said, let's take the clear pill. And also shout out to my Patreon supporters over in the Mastermind community. Since the feedback I've got on my last Red Pill podcast has been incredible, I released Dedicated to a potential upcoming Black Swan event, one of my best podcasts to date. So leave a comment below if you watched it and let me know your thoughts. I was in a deep flow state during that podcast. It felt really good to go over everything, talking about the stock market, a couple different altcoins, but the setup ultimately into this moment we're at right now. Again, today is also the 15th annual BRICS Summit, the last day of the summit. And since that's being hosted in Johannesburg, South Africa, in a time zone about 6 hours ahead of New York, that means by market close today, the summit will be wrapping up. And with some overlap on this last day of the summit and market hours, any last minute updates from that summit could potentially affect the market. But I think the market is more focused on this Friday, tomorrow, when the Federal Reserve Chair Powell speaks at the annual Jackson Hole Symposium. I'm sure the market is hanging in there to see what he will say about interest rates, which will give us another month projection until the next FOMC meeting, which will be on September 19th and 20th, when Powell will speak next after tomorrow. But so far, off of last Friday's market close over here on the major indices, we've seen a little bit of a bounce, slightly leading into this event tomorrow when Fed Powell speaks at Jackson Hole. We had about a 4 to 5% correction for the Dow and the S&P, and around an 8% correction for the NASDAQ. And the NASDAQ has been a really technical play based off of two key fib levels that I teach in my TA lessons. So we're just going to quickly run through that. As I was saying a moment ago, we've had a little bit of a correction, and now we're getting somewhat of a bounce into tomorrow's event. But what we're seeing here on these fibs is a very, very technical setup. So here on the NASDAQ, we're looking at the daily chart. We see a rejection right there at this 888 fib level. Then we see a retest right here at the 702, which is another key level I teach in my Fibonacci retracement tool lessons over in my crypto mastermind course. It's something I focus on quite a bit in my exit strategy blueprint, which is actually included in that crypto Mastermind Course for free, which gives it an incredible value. So especially with the accuracy of those TA lessons coming to life, not only in the crypto charts, but in Forex, precious metals, and as you can see, even the stock market, which this is a frequently asked question I receive regarding my courses, and the answer is my method of decoding, combining Gematria, Numerology, Astrology with technical analysis can be used for anything that has a chart, whether it's a commodity like oil or a penny stock. And the lesson that I have in the course pretty much can be utilized across the board. But of course, I focus mainly on crypto being the future economy, and that's where I feel we need to be the most accurate in our projections and when it comes to designing our investment thesis. So if anyone has taken any of my courses, share your thoughts in the comments section below. The common feedback I get is that it's one of the most unique yet easy to understand and utilize courses they've taken. That really means a lot to me. And people really appreciate that it's a one-time payment for lifetime access. So you can go at your own pace and don't need a rush. And I've actually gotten quite a lot of feedback on how people enjoy that the website where I host my courses, watersabove.com, has a progress bar that keeps a tab on where you left off as you're going through the course. Again, if you're somebody who's decided to invest in yourself by investing in my courses or the mastermind community over on Patreon, I greatly appreciate your support. Really means the world to me. So getting back to the TA on NASDAQ, we met my conditions for a bounce after an overbought rejection at the 888 fib. And right now we're getting back to the top of the golden pocket now, around the 786. So the weekly close that's coming up tomorrow is important here. And remember, we have Fed Powell speaking tomorrow, so this is all a big setup. Okay? Now, just consider that tomorrow's close is not only a weekly close, it will also be a bi-weekly close. So it's a 2-week candle. This is definitely significant. And we can see that a very key level that we've gotten is right here on this bi-weekly close. It's around 15,180. That was a closure level slightly above the golden pocket, which led to this rally into this 888 fib. So keep that in mind and expect volatility tomorrow, of course. Again, another thing to consider is that we have the monthly close for the markets coming up right after that bi-weekly close, just about 4 or 5 days after. And a similar story, because it's not only just a monthly close, it's actually a bi-monthly close. And you can see right now we have a textbook doji on the NASDAQ on the bi-monthly. It's big. Now, if you've been following my work for some time now, you know my thoughts about this pivot into the month of September and my thoughts on the month of September in general. I've been talking about it every day, pretty much everything I do for over a year now, because this year that we're in right now is the year of the Jubilee, and the Jubilee ends on September 17th. So we're going to go over to the dates real quick. I think it's important that we analyze what's going on from the esoteric as we start off today's video. We went over what was happening over on the NASDAQ, and just to give you guys a quick summary of how I feel on all of this, if we do get this closure around these levels slightly above the 786, that's a pure setup for a little more of a rally. And I'll be covering the stock market from now on a regular with my Red Pill podcast over on Patreon. I've been going over it pretty much every single week lately because of this critical moment that we're in and how overbought we've gotten into this half of the year, and how this is telling a story for what to anticipate next if we're gonna get a larger correction, and it will absolutely affect crypto. Whether you're in Bitcoin, XRP, doesn't really matter. What's happening here in the major indices absolutely influences what to expect for crypto. So just for the people out there that enjoy my stock market analysis, I will continue to keep up with that in my red pills. Now, getting over to some of the dates, we have this date today and how it's actually significant into the setup of the end of Jubilee, which I was just talking about moments ago. And the code here is the number 24. You could see that they're 24 days apart from the 24th day of August, which is today, into the date that has a 24 standard date numerology, which is September 17th. Now, this is the day that we move into the Hebrew year of 5,784, which adds up to 24. Okay? This date that I'm talking about is the last day of Rosh Hashanah, which equals 204 in reverse ordinal. Now, that 204, with the rules of numerology, we remove that 0, and this brings us back to 24. So we have 24th date, 24 days later, into the 24 date numerology on the day that starts the Hebrew year of 578424. This is crucial because 24 is tied to X. X is the 24th letter in the English alphabet, the New World language. And we know that Elon Musk has changed Twitter over to X in preparation for this exact moment, the Hebrew New Year, Rosh Hashanah, the end of Jubilee. And remember, Elon Musk is from South Africa. Just like the 15th annual BRICS summit that's happening right now as we speak is happening in South Africa. They've developed and they will launch BRICS Pay, a so-called decentralized multi-currency digital international payment system. And Elon Musk, this is going to be a tough thing for some people to swallow, so grab a sip of water. Elon Musk was put into this position as the owner of Twitter by his handlers so that he can be the talking head that convinces the Western world to use X Corp's payment system, which was already developed long before Elon was placed into this role by his handlers. And that payment system will essentially be like WeChat, but in the Western world. It's all a big chess game. And all of these players get put into position, and they're decided to be put into these positions at the exact time they are based on this chess game of the global elite. Now remember, the apex predator, New World Order, elite, whatever you like to call them, will leverage on people like Elon because they know the public believes in him. The public likes him, and the apex predator will use this sentiment to push their agendas. There was a time back 20 years ago when everyone loved Bill Gates. He had an incredible rapport with the public, and it was because of one single thing, one single reason. It was because he was rich. And gullible humans are bedazzled and bamboozled by billionaires on a daily basis. It took until C-19 pandemic for people to realize Bill Gates had a way bigger agenda in his philanthropy endeavors. So think about how long you can keep up this charade before the public figures out the truth. And a lie compounded by a lie compounded by more lies can last lifetimes. And right now, as I speak, the average person thinks that Elon Musk is a saint. They really believe in this guy. Now, please realize I have nothing negative to say about Elon. I've never met him. It's not in my character to speak lack on others. I'm just here to reveal that he is not what most people believe he is. He is not batting for the good guys. In his bloodline, there is no such thing as good guys. There is just one thing. It's called maintaining power. And true power operates in the shadows, and they use sock puppets like this guy to speak for them while they stay silent. Silence is power. When Elon's handler says jump, Elon says how high. That's how this works. So it's not Elon's mission to colonize Mars. There's no such thing as Mars. Remember, space may be the final frontier, but it was made in a Hollywood basement. So it's not Elon's mission to colonize some make-believe rock floating in outer space. His mission is to be the so-called good guy that hypnotizes the masses into accepting and utilizing CBDCs. So now that I got that out of the way, we're moving into the year of X. BRICS Pay is in the conversation. Christine Lagarde at the ECB Euro Central Bank said they will be making a decision on the digital euro by October 2023. XRP was just deemed non-security. And, sorry to break people's hearts, but Ripple is batting for the same team as Elon and Lagarde and Klaus Schwab, and that team they bat for is called the central banks. And I know the real ones who are listening right now can see the writing on the wall. And if some of this stuff offends you or is too spicy for you, I get it. The truth sucks, but the truth sets you free. Our community here is comprised of some of the most high-level free thinkers around the world, and we've gotten used to swallowing these truth pills to the point where it's like eating candy. And if you're here, if you're new here, welcome. This is a place where you'll develop a thick skin, you'll learn to walk on hot coals, and you'll soon be able to keep your emotions out of this game because the market doesn't care about how you feel or what your opinion is. Making this realization is the foundation of the most successful investors, and they know how this game runs on emotions. So learn how to master your emotions so your emotions don't master you. Now, going back to this number 24, this upcoming Monday, the 28th, it's an interesting date because it will be the 240th day of this year. That 24, again, using the rules of numerology, you get rid of that 0, you're back at 24. Now, this is going to be a little complex, so follow along with me. I thought about connecting this date of August 28th being the 240th day, and I wanted to connect it to the day that leaves 24 days left in the year. So that's going to be December 7th, and you could see that right there. Date leaving 24 days in the year. Now, what's fascinating about this day, it is 101 days apart, so I want you to remember that. So I was curious about this, and it made me think, let's go 24 days after this time frame. And what we see here is that it brings us to September 21st. Now, what's fascinating about September 21st is it's the day leaving 101 days in the year. So I started to get a little bit, curious about what's the significance of this September 21st date now. And let's play around with it a little bit more. If we go 24 days after September 24th, we're going to see another important code here. It's October 15th. That will be the day after our next solar eclipse. And we know these eclipses play a huge role on how this market operates. Okay? So I want you guys to be open-minded to all of this, all right? Now, that 24 connection that I was sharing before, all those 24s, they come back to Jupiter. And I'll show you really quickly how this 21st date is tied in because it's on a Thursday, which is Thor's day, which is Jupiter day. And that's bringing us back to Jupiter, the 24. That's the zodiac logo of Jupiter, the sickle and the cross. And those 101 connections that I was making before, as I said, 101 days connecting us to that particular date, then 101st day left in the year being September 21st, etc. That 101 becomes 11. You remove the 0. 11, the master number. It's the two pillars, the two towers. And we know September 11th coming up will be the 22nd anniversary of that event that was back in 2001. So let's play around with 2001. That becomes 21. 21 is 2 ones. 1, 1. That brings you back to 11 again. This is how you decode at a higher level, the hidden meaning within the numbers. So during September 21st, the sun will be in the sign of Virgo in both sidereal and in tropical. And Virgo is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is Hermes, the god of fiat money. Money created out of thin air because Mercury is the prince of the power of the air. It's the same story with crypto and blockchain. And how perfect is it that the Federal Reserve Chair Powell speaks on the 20th, which is just the day before this date that we've been decoding. And this is another tie back into Mercury because September 20th is a Wednesday, miércoles, the day of Mercury, the day before September 19th, which is the day leaving 103 days left in the year, like Mercury equals 103 in English ordinal. This is important. And speaking of Mercury, Mercury is currently stationed retrograde as of yesterday and will be going direct on September 14th into the 15th, right there at the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, the end of Jubilee. So Mercury will essentially be retrograde for the next three weeks. I want to show you a little bit more code on this. We have retrograde equaling 111. We have New York equaling 111, like the day that September 11th has tied into it. September 11th, the day leaving 111 days left in the year. The event happened in New York, right? Retrograde equals 111. And I think it's important to consider that Mercury will be stationed retrograde through the 22nd anniversary of 9/11. So Now is the perfect time to move over into the charts and review how crypto typically behaves during Mercury retrograde. I've been talking about this during my Red Pill podcasts, and I've been getting great feedback on that more esoteric analysis. So I want to show you guys some things that I found today that could be very important. And it's a very important pattern to consider that could be helpful for us to determine what's to come for the crypto market over the following weeks. But before we get into the TA, go ahead and give this video a like if you haven't already. Spread some love in the comments below. That's what we're all here. So let's get over to this Mercury retrograde analysis. I think that's very important because I found some amazing things to share with you guys. Now I'm just going to zoom out really quickly. We're going to go to the daily chart. I'm going to try to get this nice and clear for you all. This chart has all the Mercury retrogrades mapped out since the C19 crash. So it's recent data with about 11 iterations to consider, but I believe going through this will help you all grasp the method to my madness. And I'll do my best to simplify everything I see going on here and how I'm interpreting it for what can be expected until about mid-September. Now, all of these red boxes here are the moments when Mercury is stationed retrograde. And from the date of Bitcoin entering the Mercury retrograde timeframe, it seems that we do tend to have microcycle tops about 2 to 3 weeks into Mercury retrograde. So I'm just going to review a couple of these patterns really quickly, and then we'll get into the data. So you can see right here from entering Mercury retrograde, we did move up for about 2 weeks, hit a microcycle top. Here we moved up the entire time, 20 days straight. Then we have here quick to the upside. Over here more neutral but slightly up right into the end. Here we have a cancellation of this all because we were essentially down most of it, although we did move up to a new microcycle top slightly after it, so that's important. Over here we moved up the entire time. Over here, we had a new microcycle top about 18 days later. Over here, we moved up the entire time, topped out about 2 weeks later. Rinse, repeat, you're seeing a pattern. Now, you might have read some of what was written over here, okay? Now, even though the data written in these boxes shows that 7 out of 11 iterations of Bitcoin actually had losses during Mercury retrograde, what I noticed was that about 10 out of 11 iterations, which is about 91% of the time, from the first day of Mercury retrograde and taking the Bitcoin closing price after that first day, we moved up after that first day and had a microcycle top that was about that was higher than day one. Okay, so I took the liberty to do the math, and I see that the average gains, according to those conditions that I just shared with you a moment ago, it happens to be about a 22% gain from the first daily close of Mercury retrograde. Now, our first daily close of Mercury retrograde was yesterday, so we could consider this data actually starting now. And what I noticed was it takes about 14 to 18 days to make that move. And in some iterations, we fully topped out 3 days after Mercury was stationed direct. Or sorry, 3 days after, yeah, essentially when Mercury was stationed direct, about 3 days after. So extended out of it. So anywho, let's take from yesterday and go over about 14 to 18 days and see where we're at. So that takes us to September 6th through September 10th. All right. And in those few ultra bullish iterations, we moved up through the entire time of Mercury retrograde, as you saw moments ago, and topped out about 3 trading days after. So that would bring us into September 16th. That's literally the day of Rosh Hashanah. But now, it's obviously not all about timing this market, although it's definitely helpful if you have the crystal ball like we have here. But jokes aside, now let's consider this average move of about 22% to the upside. And you could see based off of yesterday's daily close, about 22% up brings us into about $32,000 Bitcoin. Well, that would technically be a new higher high in our local structure and would align perfectly with the 0.5 fib. Let me show you that right here. So this is the 0.5 fib in our structure right there. It's at 32,700 or 32,800. And the way I'm getting this fib is I'm in a logarithmic chart pulling from this swing high or all-time high down to our cycle low. And we've yet to test the 0.5 fib, and that's very typical on an automatic rally. I don't like how we're now back below the 382, but we're talking about crypto here, and crypto is insanely volatile. So I'm just going to be sharing my analysis and my opinion to give you guys the best data and most valuable information I possibly can, but be aware that we're in an insanely volatile asset. So we don't need to be super specific with it, and we're not going to see it be as on the money as we would with something like the indices, which move a lot slower, take a lot longer to cycle out, etc. So it's going to be much cleaner to pull fibs on like a Dow Jones chart than what we're going to see when we have moves in Bitcoin. But now that that's out of the way, I do think that this is pretty incredible how we have our average move off of these Mercury retrograde analysis iterations moving up perfectly into a technical target. See, here we're combining the esoteric with our TA so that it's comprehensive and well-rounded and can be utilized by anyone, no matter if you believe in the esoteric or not. I'm not trying to convince anyone. A leader never needs to convince or prove themselves. They just take action, and that's the proof. That's what we're doing here, and that's why what we're doing here is so special. So I want to also make a note that any iterations where Bitcoin was hitting these 20% moves up during Mercury retrograde, we actually went much higher. Some situations we went up like 60 to 70%. So, but I think it's more safe to just stay conservative right now. And a conservative consideration would be about a 20 to 30% move to the upside. And if we were to get about a 30% move to the upside, that would bring us to the middle of about 34K. And that would be pretty much filling your upside CME gap that we know we have right here. Remember, there's premium on this, so it should be a little bit higher. But we could absolutely still fill this gap before having a deeper correction. Now, I'm not saying that this will happen 100%, but I do have an intuitive feeling that we need one more move to the upside that traps bulls before a bigger correction. And I have one more chart to share that supports another move up for Bitcoin, although not as bullish as what I just shared moments ago, but something for us to consider. And it's this chart over here. I know you guys over in the Mastermind community, you've seen this. It's a firmament dome chart that I've been using all year, and it's been playing out perfectly. It's just a clean arch, and we're seeing rejection after rejection at the top of this dome. If you don't know what the firmament is, do some research. Then you'll know where my name comes from. So we see that around September 6th through the 10th, which is the date that I identified earlier based off of the pattern of movement for Bitcoin during Mercury retrograde. You can see that this dome comes in around 28,800, 28,200, just shy of 29K. And of course, we have some wicks that poke out of the dome. It's happened before, but those are just extremes in the data, and they're short-lived moments on a 5-minute chart. So this gives us something to expect that's conservative, about a 28 to 29K Bitcoin between the dates of September 6th through September 10th, which is about a 9% move to the upside. Very lackluster, but I believe we should be on the more conservative side, and we should be back at those levels. So you guys can take note of that, okay? I think this was a really good combination of concepts and ideas, and a way that we could literally predict the market based off of moves. So write it down, September 6th through 10th, somewhere around 28 to 29K. And then we do have the opportunity, as I shared in this prior chart over here, because of past iterations of Mercury retrogrades, that we could even hit a new microcycle high and fill that top CME gap at 34 to 35K. That would be an incredible move to see. And of course, I would love to have it happen. I'll most likely de-risk some Bitcoin and ETH. And if XRP wants to follow that and get back into like the 70-80 cent range, and don't worry, I'm going to be covering XRP before I finish off this video. I mean, that would be lovely. So final note, I have a hard time believing this market will be bullish past September 21st based on all the work that I've put in on analyzing this data. And from an exoteric perspective, I think the Fed can't keep this up much longer. And with that FOMC meeting on September 20th, it aligns perfectly. And part of me really feels like we're going to have a black swan event during that time frame after the 21st, which is why I dedicated my last red pill to that concept. So I am looking for that Rosh Hashanah timeframe into that 21st, 22nd, 23rd of September to be a black swan. I'm pretty confident behind that, and I'll continue to follow up on this as we get closer. Now, let's quickly finish off today's video with XRP. And I'm just going to share some quick thoughts. Before, I was telling everyone that if we do meet the condition of closing a daily above that 54-cent level to anticipate a move up to about 62, 63 cents. So far, we have yet to get a daily close above 54 cents. So we need that condition. But in the short term, we could have a W on the breakout. A close above the 54-cent level could send us straight to 62 cents. Now, what we want to watch out for is how we deal at that level, because we can easily start treating what was a potential short-term support as a new resistance, and that would not be a fun thing to experience, of course, for anyone who is kind of getting over this whole bearish XRP post SEC ruling on the non-security news. Like, I think with that being said, you can't say that I didn't tell you so. And I don't like to say that. I'm not trying to brag or boast. It's just I was very adamant about the take profit into this 80 to 90 cent range for a lot of reasons. And I wasn't just making things up out of thin air. I even shared my reasoning why I do not believe that the SEC ruling in this case has anything to do with higher targets. And that came to fruition, because now we've watched XRP go all the way back into the mid 40-cent range since. So what this shows to me is that traders have been continuing to run this coin, and that retail has been panic selling as of late. That's just, it is what it is. You can't deny what you're seeing in the charts here, and clearly big money is not stepping in. We do see this buy wall come in about mid 40 cent, and that's promising. But I recently did a podcast with Bearable Bull. Definitely go check that out. Shout out to Bull and his community. I went deep into the TA on XRP and what I feel, but in the short term, we need to see this 66 to 60 cent range be broken in order for us to consider any retests of these highs that we got back in mid-July. In the meantime, we need to get above 54 cents, send it to 62, see how it interacts at 62 through 64, and then we'll take it from there. I would really consider, off of just a micro fib pull, that we could AR into a micro AR into 74 cents again. That's in perfect alignment with the 0.5 fib on the macro pull. So consider that. And if we get back up to 74 cents, which is in alignment with these two key fibs, I would most likely be de-risking one last time. As I said to people about a month ago, I did keep some new levels open above $1, but I don't like this setup getting so close to the end of Jubilee. I'm not confident. So if we were to get back above there, I will let everyone know. I do have inside of my Mastermind community for Patreon updates whenever I buy or sell. So that is a perk that comes along with that membership. And until then, I've given you guys the levels to consider on both Bitcoin and XRP. We're skipping ETH today just because it's not really that important. It's been just following along the Bitcoin chart. And in the meantime, just keep it calm for tomorrow. We're probably going to get a lot of volatility in this market. Again, I appreciate every single one of you for tuning into today's video, and I'll be catching you all on the next Red Pill podcast. Much love.